Hello, boys and girls. It's Mr. Higashi again. Welcome to Mr. Higashi Art Class. Today, we're going to continue talking about shapes. We're going to cut some shapes out of colored paper, and we are going to create a design of our very own. So let's see what we need. We're going to start off with a white piece of paper. And this is going to be our background today, which we'll see more about. You're going to need some sort of colored paper. Doesn't matter what color, something that's different than your background. So Mr. Higashi has a whole bunch of pieces of construction paper. But my tip for you, or for your parents, is as you're cutting construction paper through our projects, save the bigger pieces. And I like to create a small box of scrap pieces to use. So we don't need a lot of colored paper today, just a few small pieces. So if you have scrap paper, this is very helpful for you. We're also going to need some glue, either glue stick or glue bottle, whatever you're most comfortable with. Some scissors, pencil, and crayons or markers or anything to add color with. It's up to you what you want to use. All right, boys and girls, let's get started. Let's see what we need to do. We are going to take a few pieces of colored paper, and like I said, it doesn't matter which color you have. So I'm going to use red, blue, and yellow, and I want to have you create some shapes out of them. So you're going to use your scissors, and you're going to try to cut some different shapes out of these. So Mr. Higashi will start with his red paper, and I'm going to try to cut a couple big squares out of here. So watch what Mr. Higashi does. I'm going to cut diagonal like that. So I want to see if I can make some big squares, nothing too small. So look, Mr. Higashi has created some squares and rectangles. I'm going to take another piece of paper and I'm going to cut some, well, watch this. I'm going to cut a circle. And let me show you a trick to cutting a circle. I'm going to cut a square first. And then once I have a square, I'm going to cut around it and turn my paper. See how I'm turning my paper and opening and closing my scissors? So my scissors are staying in one spot. And Mr. Higashi is moving the paper to make the circle. Now this takes a lot of practice, but once you get good at this, you can make circles all the time. Mine's kind of an oval, and that is okay. So I have a circle, I have some squares, and maybe I'll make a few triangles. So Mr. Higashi will take his blue paper. Once again, I'm going to cut across, and I'm just going to make some square-like shapes. And if I cut a square in half, diagonal, it creates triangles. So Mr. Higashi has one circle, 3 squares, and 4 triangles. I can use any of them. I'm going to get rid of a triangle. Well, maybe I'll keep it. We'll see. But your job, once you have some shapes, let's say 8 shapes, because that's what Mr. Higashi has. So once you have 8 shapes, your job is to try to glue them onto your white paper and turn them into something. So Mr. Higashi sees an easy thing he can do with his. Watch this. I'm going to take my glue stick, and it takes a little bit of imagination, but I love it when students use their imagination. I'm going to take one of my rectangles or squares. I'll put a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to stick it down on my white paper. I'm going to take a blue triangle, put a little bit of glue on it, and stick it on top. And what did I make by gluing those 2 pieces together? It kind of looks like a house. I like that. So Mr. Higashi is going to turn all 3 of his red pieces into houses. 2, 3, And sometimes you gotta hold the glue for a few seconds to make sure it stays in place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if it starts to peel up, you can always lift it up and put a little bit of glue underneath it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this yellow sun looks like a perfect, or yellow circle looks like a perfect sun. So I'm gonna put that up here. And see what Mr. Higashi is already doing. And I still have a blue triangle. What can Mr. Higashi do with his last blue triangle? Maybe, I've got it. Let's see what this becomes. Mr. Higashi is just gonna glue this right down here, like that. Now that I have all my pieces glued onto my paper, I'm gonna use my crayons or markers, and I'm gonna turn this into a picture. So Mr. Higashi is gonna grab his color crayons, because I like color crayons. I'm gonna take them out of the box and carefully lay them on the table so I can get them when I need them. And I am gonna start drawing some stuff on my paper. Since these are houses, I think it would look really cool if I drew a road in front of my houses. And you can keep adding more or more details as you see fit. Let's take a look and see how it turned out. So Mr. Higashi took his basic shapes. We cut them out of paper. I made a circle, I made some squares or rectangles and some triangles. And then I used my imagination to turn it into a realistic picture. I would love to see how yours turns out, boys. How yours turn out, boys and girls. So make sure to bring them to class next art lesson and show them off at the opening meeting. It's great seeing you today, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye, boys and girls.